how about if I tell you how you can print money? Bitcoin is the winner in that whole story. This crypto thing is a journey. It's like they say, it's not a race, it's a marathon. And yeah, it's a marathon. But in crypto, an 18-year-old can log on tonight, trade something, flip it in an NFT, flip it back into an in-game token, flip it back into Bitcoin and retire in 2 weeks. Top 1 to 10% that cashes out and makes money. And they're now all together in a room trading. If you trade and you have altcoins, make sure to have a bag of Bitcoin that you constantly move a little bit into that bag.
Welcome to Bitget Show. I'm your host, Vugar Usi, and today I have a true pioneer in the crypto industry with me, Kevin. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you to Bitget for having me. Looking forward to getting into it. Let's rock.
Let's rock. As a background story, I already had amazing talks with you in a backstage, and I'm very excited to bring it to the larger audience. You are someone who came to the industry not through trading or get rich quick idea, buy now, million X in here. You actually started by mining your own crypto assets.
Yep.
How was that? Or why was it? Like how someone wakes up to mine something?
So how much time do we got for this story? So no, I'm going to cut it really short, but it's an interesting story because yeah, I didn't buy any Bitcoin. I wasn't gifted it. I didn't have someone, bring me in other than educating. So a long time ago, before Airbnb existed, I was doing a lot of business in the music industry in Amsterdam.
From music to the crypto.
Yeah, exactly. You never know where you're going to end up. Before that, I was a Wall Street trader. I was a short trader on the commodities market. And then I started investing in this music industry, and the first times that house music came to America. No one listened to house music before. So I'd have to go to Amsterdam and Turkey and these places, Beirut and places that were really hubs for house music. Long story short, I needed a place to stay. This was before Airbnb. I looked up canal apartments with a view on Google, and this guy's website, apartmentswithcanalview.com, back then.
The best SEO ever.
Literally came up. And my friend Shettle, shout out to Shettle Larson, got me into crypto one night. After a long party night, I came home. I was renting his apartment.
I love this after the long party, kitchen talk.
Yeah, this is exactly what it was. I got in because, I had to go through the ground floor, walk up these, stairs, these 300-year-old apartments, 200-year-old sinking apartments. And he comes to my room one day and he says, look, you're a smart guy. This is the third year you've rented my apartment, let's talk. And this is a guy who's not a normal guy. He was supposed to be Google employee number 7. He graduated with Sergey Brin at Stanford. He's a very wise guy. All he wanted to do was come to Amsterdam and start a family. He had no interest in working for anybody, anything. So this isn't like a normal guy. Comes home, I come home, and he catches me upstairs like, hey, let's talk, this and that. You seem like a smart guy. You're here doing, tech business and broadcasting. What the hell are you doing here? Fast forward to another hour of conversation, and he's like, look, I'm going to teach you about something that's going to change the world. And he starts talking about decentralization of money and Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was 83 cents at the time, and I thought he was crazy. I left that November in 2011, 11, and I thought he was nuts. And I came back the next year in October, and it's not 83 cents anymore. And I didn't even follow it. And he's like, he told me, did you put that $500 I told you to put in it? I said, no, you're absolutely insane. He's like, well, look at the price now. I was like, okay, cool, but whatever. And a couple days go by. He's like, listen, fine. You don't want to buy and invest anything. How about if I tell you how you can print money? And he teaches me about Bitcoin mining. And that's quite literally like what the Fed does, right? They print money, but in a very centralized BS way. And this is a very beautiful technology that we can print money. I use those words lightly. And he teaches me about Bitcoin mining, and now you have my interest because I'm a techie. I go home January 13th, just researching it all through Christmas in the 2012, and it blows my mind how you can literally print money, Again, I use that print money loosely, but in a metaphor. And so me and my friend, Jonathan Shinto, and myself, we started Bitrig Builders in January 2013. We was the first Southern California company to do anything in crypto mining. We would make rigs from $1,000 for our next door neighbor all the way to $1 million for the corporation down the street who wanted to host it in their warehouse. We knew how to build them, we knew how to code them, and we knew how to source the GPUs. And first we started with ASIC miners in our own bedrooms, but then it became GPU mining quickly thereafter. Now, I always joke like I can't prove anything other than wallets, the freshness of the coin, but I have a garage full of GPUs still stacked. And somewhere in that garage, there's and this is later on, but there's about 7,000 Zcash from like 2015, 16, where we mined, and it's just lost. But somewhere in that garage, there's a lot of Zcash. But the moral of the story is I got addicted to the tech, and the rest was history. I've created a business out of it, and we were able to flourish from there.
This is an amazing story, and especially like the Bitcoin being like at 80 cents. Because I recently had this studio Da Vinci, and he has this like the way you said, like, I can't prove it's my garage. He has this videos he published like 13 years ago on YouTube telling people like, go buy, $1 worth Bitcoin. And of course no one did, or at least we didn't. And it's insanely amazing to see how Bitcoin was the best performing asset in the last 10 years. And finally we are seeing it green again. Exactly. It's at 44K. And recently my friends start texting me like, oh, actually you are in crypto, like now interest is there. And I'm like, okay guys, I've seen this at least twice, in different cycles when people get excited, they want to buy, but then they don't want to lose. Either they just like earn like little bit and they sell. It's such a weird dynamic. But I have a different question. Like you mentioned that you worked at Wall Street and did commodity tradings. What's your take on overall the industry of commodity trading? Because again, we discussed the same topic with Da Vinci on a gold and silver, assets, and how they actually doesn't exist as an asset. BlackRock, let's say, does all the holding and selling, and there's another company who kind of has a custody, and then they can also lease the gold. It's kind of a triple printed money. Actually, most probably there isn't like a gold bars in some big safe that is in
I doubt Fort Knox is filled with gold, but it's the illusion and the trading. But look, I think these assets, like you said, they're numbers on a screen. There used to be numbers in a vault or, physical, literally, I'll trade you this amount of chickens for this amount of gold or this amount of silver for this amount of whatever. But nowadays, everything is just numbers on a screen. So the M1 circulated, currency is just literally zeros in digital form. So we've had digital currency for a very long time, right? There's not that much amount of US dollars as the number says, or the amount of debt that they're, consolidating with different countries. There's really not that much cash in physical form. But with these markets, they've been digital for a long time. So what's the difference now with a new digital currency, but that can back it up? Right? This can back it up. There's 21 million that'll be printed, 19 million so far. We have 2 more million to go, blah, 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 all the great things about crypto. But I still think that even Bitcoin specifically is not a currency. We have to watch out when we say cryptocurrency, right? I get it, that's the name, but currency should be used as such. But as a store of value, currently, there is no better one in the last now going on 11 years. It's the best performing asset. It's so-called sound money, right? And I'm not going to use all the buzzwords that everybody knows about Bitcoin, but it's exactly opposite to like what we just said about what BlackRock can do with gold and silver. Aha, but guess who's coming? Guess who's coming for Bitcoin and crypto, specifically Bitcoin? BlackRock. With that ETF, they can kind of do the same thing now. All right, they can kind of now do that, triple turnover type of method like they've been doing in the commodities market. And the reason why short trading is so exciting and why they want that ETF, because things can go up for 10 years, but when it drops in a couple days or months. And short traders really are the ones that are winning in the end, right? But it's market timing, it's capitulation, it's sentiment, and what better way to get Bitcoin on that path than to attach an ETF to it? So I have a lot of like thoughts, not theories about that. They're not all, positive. They're not all negative, but it is what it is. Institutions are coming. And so we in the crypto industry need to understand that.
I think like when we discuss about institutions, like Of course, they have more money and they've been to this traditional finance for years and years, and they know how to play the game. But in my opinion, the great thing about it is that ETFs could actually bring on board more people who doesn't need to open a wallet. And I don't know, my parents, your parents, grannies who are doing like a traditional investment, someone from the bank calls them to do what, and this could bring more money to the industry. But on the other side, as you meant, it could take it to a very different place where maybe you don't even have to have the custody. We would know who is holding what. I don't know who is leasing what, and it will be triple printed, and it will be very, very different way and totally against the idea of that transparency. You can track things. You have to have the limited supply because, as you mentioned, Bitcoin isn't just a currency, because currencies only have value in or during the transaction. You need to transact with them to unveil the value, right? Because to print $100 bill, they just spend, I don't know, 20 cents, 30 cents. There's no value capture or store, while Bitcoin actually a value storing rather than, being a cryptocurrency.
Right.
I don't think it's true for all other like altcoins because they are basically small states. I always say like the way like states has a land and you build on their tax, this kind of the same methodology. Now they have layer zeros and layer ones that you have to build on. That's how things work. But going back to that mining story, like who became rich out of that? Clients and neighbors? Were they like just playing around? What was the like story like? Because you eventually grew it to the next height and sold that business.
Right.
Like what was the journey in there?
Yeah, so the question of like who made the most was the person who, if it was altcoin mining with the GPUs, was quickly able to take that back to Bitcoin, right? And store Bitcoin, or even if you wanted to cash it out to USD or, buy a home or whatever that looked like, that's the ultimate winner. Now, if you didn't keep Bitcoin and you bought a house with it, great. But if you kept Bitcoin, that was the ultimate winner. The losers were the people that kept the altcoins in which they mined over time, right? And I can speak to even ourselves, right? We went for a lot of different altcoins because the hash rates were lower here, higher there, and we would kind of move around to get the best fit for us. We didn't always take it back to Bitcoin, and I can admit that now, looking back, that was ultimately the largest failure. Now, we've been through many hacks. Mt. Gox, we got killed on. Still going through the claims process. I'm waiting for my claim. Swear to God.
It happened in 2013, no? Almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, now 10 years, and still people are waiting. And there's a treasury that's going to handle that, but we'll see, Cryptsy, one of the first exchanges, that was a very large exchange. We lost a lot in that one. Over 2,100 Litecoin went down in that exchange. So we made good and bad decisions, but back then it was
FTX
wild west.
loss?
No, I was not part of FTX. Never had an account. Never had an account. Of course, I think we all got hit by USDC, right? That's just inevitable. But you have to go through these stories to get to here. There's no person that's been in crypto longer than, let's say, 8 or 9 years that hasn't had a hack, liquidation event from an exchange, a lost wallet, a lost password, a missed transaction address with one letter off. Like, we've all been through it, right? We've all been seeing some crazy stuff. So the winner, to answer your question, is the guy that did none of this and just kept it in Bitcoin and forgot about it, right? So to answer your question again, the clients who we were all in the wild, wild west. I can only build the machine for them. But once they see, minemycoin.com or whatever those, hash rates that tells you the best place to mine, they're going to say, hey, could you switch me over to WorldCoin? Could you switch me over to OneCoin? Could you switch me over to whatever coin? And we would do that, right? It was all automated. So we decided to go to Zcash for a very long time. It was not only a really good coin, in our opinion, the ideology and everything, but it also had the most profitability from mining. Well, it also had a flash crash within minutes and milliseconds that took it from 4 digits down to two digits, right? So that killed about 16 months of mining for us, whether we kept it or not, right? So again, our mistake was not taking it into Bitcoin, but we believed in the coin, right? Dash, I believed in Dash. I liked these ideologies. I was never a believer in like a Cardano or a Ripple, right? I may have traded it later on, but I didn't ever hoard them or mine them or get involved with them. So what am I supposed to do when you wake up and Zcash is, I think it was 1197 or something like that, all the way down to 97, 117, like that, right? So things happen. You have to live through these things. But now I know I'm not a miner anymore. But if I tell anybody what you can do is if you trade and you have altcoins, make sure to have a bag of Bitcoin that you constantly move a little bit into that bag. Not all of it. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but Bitcoin is the winner in that whole story. The person like Shuttle who only kept Bitcoin will not touch anything else. And DCAs every day, every week, every month, even to this day from 83 cents. That's the winner, right? But are we all losers on the other side? Yeah, in monetary, yeah, where we lost a lot. But, we've been along for the game. My education level now is 10x someone like Shuttle, right? My activity is 100x because I've experienced in all these. Now that's just funny from a guy who's also net worth is 1/100th of the guy who kept all the Bitcoin, right? So it sounds funnier than it is, but it's a journey, man. This crypto thing is a journey. It's like they say, it's not a race, it's a marathon. And yeah, it's a marathon. We're only 13 years, 14 years into this. if we can last to our parents' age, woof, this is pretty amazing, right?
That would be great, and I think you touched a very important point regarding hedging and making sure that you put more investments in Bitcoin. Also, not always running after the best short-term gains is the strategy, because
I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. Go put it in the next 1000x altcoin. Look, that's you, man. You can also go to Vegas and pick a parlay on the sports book or put it all on red and black. It's totally up to you.
Exactly. Honestly, like that's what I was always recommending to my friends, that if you just want to come and play and like learn, I don't know, just $100, like a learning money, do it. Like all meme coins, altcoins, just see how market reacts, how things influenced by a tweet, like all these easy hypey methodologies. I don't know, power of community, people, hyping to the moon. It's a very great learning, but if you want to be there in the longer run, actually, either doing a trading and investing as a core way to survive, or literally, if you want to do like a college fund for your kids and capture that value, definitely you have to go hard on Bitcoin and assets that has more value to, capture, store, and more sustainable rather than, playing around with a huge money. I think that is it's very tempting. I understand, because one of the stories like I had with my dad, that he was a admirer of Luna because these arms, balancing and so on. He cashed everything. He was like hard in there. While like my mom she still is a very huge believer for ADA because of the Cardano and schools in Africa.
Yeah, sure.
I think like these stories touch people in a very different ways, right? My dad was like, okay, this is hedging, this is balancing to, I don't know, currencies. They balance each other. Let me put all my money. For my mom, it's like, oh, they're like, they got the government contracts in Africa. They're putting schools in blockchain. Let me invest in there. Like, it's like stories so much matter. And I really love when people are very agnostic when they do investment. They realize, okay, I'm doing this because it is relatable. And I think it's a good thing to do. Or be very rational and do like kind of a majority Bitcoin trade and play around a little bit with the altcoins. I think that's kind of also a good methodology. It goes really down the hill if you are just there for the appetite and like huge gains and do all these risky trades. And I think that similar could apply to also NFTs, because we saw that back during the bull run, everyone bought NFTs because they wanted to flip them and gain more and more money. And no one actually cared about art, artistic value, or relatability. And eventually
they lied to themselves saying they did. Right. Now, I have a lot of artist friends that have done really well because they were actual artists, traditional before, and they did really well because it was unique. But that's less than 0.01%. The NFT markets were there to flip. Right. And it was a quick flip. And the losers is always, just like in altcoins, the last one holding the bag. Right. Whether the volume's not there to trade out or no one's going to buy that flip. We've seen it happen time and time and again. I owned Doge in the millions when it was 7 zeros up to 6 zeros. And there was early day casinos And we all knew they were fake casinos. Like, this is how, dummy it was, that we knew, but we were having fun. What is Doge? What was Doge? Right? Like, what is it? Some doggy coin? It was just like, literally, we knew it was a scam slash, this and that. Even the owner of Doge has said many times, like, I've not made a penny off of this, quite literally, just, but you guys have, and now it's worth something, right? Now, there's a lot of theories of why it's worth something and how much money has moved along and this and that, but, in NFTs, no one knew what they were buying. And the flip was making money, but the last one holding the bag is a loser, and that's usually the 99%. There's only a top 1 to 10% that cashes out and makes money, and they're now all together in a room trading, right? They're all in the same room in the same communities, whether they're pump and dumping or not, and that's where the bad eggs come in our industry. And it happened again in NFTs. And it's going to happen again in another, asset until we get regulation that's going to make this a security. And I'm not the guy that's going to say, decentralization is not possible. But if we want to compete with a gold market cap, or if we want to be taken seriously, then we're going to need to have this stuff regulated so that this doesn't continue to happen in other things. The next thing that's coming up are RWAs, real world assets. What if we don't have any regulation there and people are fake selling homes and fractionalizing this and that? Of course, this will never happen because title deeds need to be legalized and regulated. But if we don't make this a security very soon, then it's going to happen again and again and again. And in the traditional markets, when we wanted to touch a stock or a bond or a commodity, we had to take 16 different tests. Series 7, 6, 5, 63, 66, 65. These are all tests I had to take just to touch that asset. But in crypto, an 18-year-old can log on tonight, trade something, flip it in an NFT, flip it back into an in-game token, flip it back into Bitcoin, and retire in 2 weeks, with no real knowledge or nothing. You're just in at the right time. And I don't know if that's so conducive to the environment of that marathon of crypto, digital assets. Crypto becomes a dirty word every few years because of this, because it's not a currency. Cryptocurrency, what part of what I just said was a currency? In that little, flipping this, flipping that. A currency becomes when I can go buy a stick of gum or pay for this podcast session or otherwise, pay for this mic. And that's just not there yet. And that, I know some websites allow that, but so we need to take a little bit more seriously. And so when you say NFTs, there's a beautiful technology behind that third letter, token, non-fungible token, tokenization, tokenomics. Beautiful. If Harvard, MIT graduates are studying tokenomics, are studying economies of tokenization of in-game, in metaverse, whatever assets. And that's beautiful. These are the heads that we need in there, economy majors, And the smartest people in the world, everybody knows this. They all work in Vegas. They're all doing odds for the biggest casinos because they know math. It's all zeros and ones. It's all binary. It's all mathematics. Why isn't that like that in crypto? Right?
No, mathematics is crazy. Recently, I was reading how they could hash several transactions into one because they do some, odds and calculate, and on chain it looks at a single transaction, while it was like so many transactions together, and they save in gas fees. I don't know, too many things in there, and definitely the industry needs a lot of bright minds. And another theory I have, like as we talked about, like a real world assets and. The technology is beautiful, but I think there are authorities, governments, entities kind of a lack adoption. And then what happens becomes a parallel universe, right? That does the same mirroring and says, oh, okay, I'm tokenizing this hotel. Because, for example, fractional ownership been there forever and ever and ever. Sure. We don't need to come and reinvent it. Actually, the authority who does it just could tokenize all these assets. And the same way that one of the stupidest things I think is happening is that central banks doing their own digital currencies, and no one tells them that, guys, you already have it, right? We do transact with the bank cards, right? These all Visa cards, MasterCards. There's no physical money moving, everything happens on some sort of digital environment. Just tokenize it. Sure. Just put it on the blockchain. Like, you don't have to go and invent a separate system like Swift, very old system, right? It's based on paper, but it works.
Sure.
Just put that on a chain instead of now every central bank does their own CBDC, but now they're in different layers, different platforms. They can't even talk to each other. They can't even transact with each other or transfer money between each other, which they're breaking the existing system instead of kind of taking the technology, adopting it to in a right way. I think that's one of the biggest problems in the industry, that maybe we don't need to go compete, but go just educate or work
Right.
together.
But the thing is that there's a shift in every society every X amount of years. So we came from non-fiat in the early days of barter system. Like the golden chicken example, which is old but fact, right? Back we had before the Romans and before the gold coins and currency, that's what it was. It was a barter system. Then we got to fiat, some type of gold coins that wasn't paper money, but it was closer to what we have now. Then it's a pure fiat system with fake paper. Like you said, $100 to print costs pennies on the dollar, because it's the illusion, as Americans show, in God we trust. So it's fear-based, right? Everything becomes fear-based. Then we move to a credit system where it's just digital currency on a screen, bunch of zeros. Now, if you go to your bank and say, hey, I want my $10 million, they don't even have $10 million to give it to you.
Not
say,
10
come back in a
millions,
month.
even like 10,000.
Right. Nowadays, it just keeps lowering. Some countries like Nigeria now, you can't even pull out X amount of dollars a month, right? So the levels keep getting lower. Now we're moving into a full digital currency, and for them, that's the next phase. When I was living in London during COVID, you could not spend cash. Now there was a dirty money type of thing, and I believe their lowest denominated value is 50 pounds. So it's not even you can't do anything with 50 pounds anymore, let alone survive to buy a couple meals or whatever. And if they don't accept it as a tourist, who they wouldn't bank. All the exchanges were closed at different times, middle of COVID, and all I had was a couple pounds, and no one was selling me a freaking shawarma.
No,
or
it's
anything.
not possible. I live in London.
And so what is going on? Because they're moving us toward what they want in the CBDC, so that even that little bit of currency left, that fiat currency left, will be tracked. Just the other day, Jamie Dimon said Bitcoin and crypto is only good for money launderers and bad things. I'm not going to repeat stuff he said, but we all know drugs and this and that. Okay, well, that's because you can't cover it. All right, you don't know where the flow of money is going. But there's a lot of bad people in the world that also are banked, that you bank, Mr. Jamie. You bank them, and you know what they're doing behind the scenes, but you're happy you can track them and they're paying their taxes or whatever. So what's so different here? Just because you can't track them scares you.
I think it's not the tracking. It's about like competition. He doesn't want to.
Right. Competition, right?
He's let me deal with all the dirty money.
I want it all, right? And it's if a lot isn't already enough, they want it all. And so the whole China story of WeChat and the currency and the credit social score, they're at the pinnacle, right? They're at the peak of tracking. There's not much more they can do. But if CBDCs and, let's say, America get announced tomorrow, and China, who owns a lot of our debt, comes by and says, hey, we'd like our money now. And they're like, oh, that money? We don't even use that money anymore. Why don't we convert it for you into our e-dollar or, whatever, digital dollar. And we'll give you a 3 times on that. And now we owe you like 80 billion or trillion, I'm sorry. And, we'll pay it off slowly on this. And again, it's just more zeros on a screen. So kicking the can down the road from our side, and from their side, debt makes money, right? You don't want the debt to be paid off completely, right? Look at Japan and over the last 30 years, like debt makes money. And so they're not so mad, or else we would be at a war right now. Yeah, but this is all bogus
even like
stuff.
with the US and Congress, increasing the debt ceiling all the time, because that makes money for everyone.
It makes money for everybody. More for the debt holders, which they're fine with, because it's what if America doesn't pay that debt? You're gonna come attack them. Are you gonna come take it? It's just oxymoronic, right? It can't go both ways. But if a CBDC comes, it's just the next evolution in the stage of humans, right? And I don't love it, and I can't do anything about it. And I said this to you off screen last time, was that what are you gonna do about it? Are you going to sit back and fight the system because it's coming anyway? Or are you going to learn to try to jump on the train, hold on, and see what you could do with it? You're going to create a marketplace that takes it, transacts it, exchanges it, who knows? But the interoperability side, which you alluded to a few minutes ago, is going to be a hell in a handbasket to try to solve. Where is the euro CBDC and the e-pound and the e-dollar and the EU1 or whatever? Like, where are these all going to communicate? And that's where the whole WEF, one world government, starts to take shape, because it's the only answer. It's the only plausible answer, because it's going to need to come down to one. We're already having problems in exchanges. And, third world countries want their time in the sun. And so I think countries like that are super third world, that skip the credit system, or that are getting really, really hurt right now, the Venezuelas, the Turkeys, the Irans, the Argentinas, they're getting really hurt right now. They might just skip over to the CBDC side, right? They might just skip over the credit because they don't have true credit systems, and go straight to CBDCs and say, hey, at least we're part of the first world now. What does that mean? It just means control. It just means more printing on the
But that's
digital
what
side.
Argentina's new president said, right? He wants to let the
Cut it.
central bank.
Yeah, because he's trying to put a stop to it. I mean, how much worse can it get?
It's the worst. In Argentina, it's the worst.
You have Venezuela, you have Argentina, you have Iran, you have Turkey, and you have Lebanon. These are top 5 most devalued currencies with the highest inflation, right? And is it weird that all of them, until the newest president, are run by, really tough people? And they don't come from a Western world ideology, but they're working with the West more than the rest. So it's a tough thing, but I'm not going to be the guy that says CBDCs they're bad. Yeah, no one likes them in our industry, but what are you going to do about it? I'm not the guy that's going to get in the street and fight with a picket sign. I'm just going to learn to find a solution, right? Because if you can't beat them, join them. But there's also a lucrative side of that. And if we're smart enough, which we are in the crypto industry, we can do some innovative things during that process. And that's the side I'm on.
No, definitely. Like my parents, they're like in their mid-50s. They live in Turkey, and they both have wallets. And of course, then like you can't call them.
When you were talking about your parents a few minutes ago, I was like, one is a Ada lover, one is a this. Oh my gosh, who are these guys?
Yeah, and
dinner with them.
Because like long ago, as a good Middle Eastern elder child of the family, I definitely support my parents, not because they need it, because it's how the custom is.
Yeah.
And like years ago, it was like a Western Union, all the commissions, and it was even my parents were like, you are losing your money on like, we don't need this. And I'm like, no, it's a holiday, it's something. And last 2-3 years, it's purely
love it.
Fiat. It's like a USDT, like $1 in here, and their transaction fee. And I was always thinking that they just trade and play around, they don't need the money. But recently when we were in Turkey, I paid attention that there are so many over-the-counter crypto exchanges. And my parents were like, yeah, because the lira is losing the value, we will just go, we know the guy, he knows us, and we'll just trade here and there. And I'm like, wow, this is like a parallel universe, right? And it is like a true example of the storing the value, because these people know that if they hold Turkish lira, the value will lose much faster than holding it on chain and then depositing, spending when it comes. And I think now, because before you would definitely do it, even now in like a Central Asian countries, in Turkey itself, you would do it with like a physical dollars, but it become very hard to buy it from the banks and so on.
Yeah.
When USDT or like all on-chain coins became like a one-on-one peer-to-peer exchange unit, which is, I think, it's a good take on, especially for the countries like Iran and Turkey. Also, it's not a secret, during the Russian-Ukrainian war, a lot of our friends from both countries who chose to move to Turkey or move to Dubai, what they did, they came, because you can't go through the airport with hundreds of $1,000s printed, but you can definitely, transfer it in a very minimal cost, which was a nice sign that how world is changing and how many things can be done, especially with the cross-border transactions.
The beautiful thing about Turkey, because I've been going there for many years, and they were really the pioneers of the physical OTC shops, because they have so many. But in 2017, when I first started seeing them, CoinTroll, shout out to CoinTroll. I know there's many now, there's hundreds, but CoinTroll was the first one, and what a location in the Grand Bazaar, right? An 800-year-old plus bazaar, if I'm not mistaken, much longer of a history, right across from a gold shop, This gentleman, I have pictures every 2 years, every year when I go back from 1,000, 4,000, 10,000, and it's right behind me. And they have this shop where you can exchange crypto. And not only is that obvious what OTC dealers do, it's right across from a gold shop. This gold shop has been handed down from generation to generation. You can't buy these shops. They have to be given or gifted. You can't buy them in the gold souk area and in the gold bazaar area. And he now has multiple locations, but imagine that for just follow this example for 10 seconds. If this is your first time listening about crypto or anything, this gentleman created an OTC shop, an over-the-counter shop where you can take your crypto, you exchange it within his shop, cheaper than a Western Union transfer, much cheaper than an exchange rate transfer at whatever exchange at the mall, and you walk out with cash. You walk out with cash and you go to that gold shop. You buy your wife, your kids, whatever, a couple gold coins or a gift or whatever, and the rest you can invest in coins or just, gold. And now you have a hard asset that you can travel with. You can go to any country in the world, melt, resell, transact. And it all came from this crypto stuff that Jamie Dimon and other people want to call rat poison and going to zero and bad stuff. That is a beautiful example of what the possibilities are, right? Not the fact that you can take millions of dollars cross-border. It's my money. I should be able to do what I want with it. It's not your money. You don't get to decide what to do with it. If you want to tax me, tax me. But if I decide to use a means to be able to spend in a different country and do it, it's not money laundering, right? That's at the bad level. But at the personal level, why is it so bad? Why do I not get all the decisions from A to Z about my money? I earned it. I paid my taxes somewhere along the way, especially as an American.
And several times,
Several
mainly.
times, especially as an American. And so if I want to buy a couple gold chains through my crypto because the shops are facing each other, who's to tell me I can and shouldn't be able to do that? So shout out to them, because that was the first one I went to in 2017, and I go back every year. I'll be there in 5 days. I take my picture every time. Last time was $4,000. One of the first pictures. Now it's $44,000. You go and tell me that this stuff is rat poison. You go and tell me that this stuff is bad. I printed a cup with my logo on it in 2016, 17. I think it was Jamie Dimon specifically. I put my logo here. I would give it out as gifts to everybody that hated Bitcoin. And I forget the exact quote, so don't kill me in the comment section, but it was something like Bitcoin is nothing, it's going to zero. Something like that. And I would give them with my big logo on there as a Christmas gift. I'm like, enjoy.
It was like a Warren Buffett who said it's like a rat
I
poison.
think that was him who said rat poison. And I think
then
Jamie Dimon was the one that said
zero.
go to zero. And this is the same Jamie Dimon. I hate that I've said his name 16 times on this podcast, but God bless him. He also did JP Coin.
But
what a hypocrite.
Isn't that
His
good
own
that
daughter,
people
I heard, mines crypto.
Right?
Right?
Isn't that good that people change their minds? Like same happened with BlackRock, right?
Go forward. But don't go one step forward, 2 steps back. Just the other day in Congress, he said that this stuff is bad. If I was the president, I would tax it to zero. I would make it illegal. Wait, what? So you went 1 step forward and then another half step forward and you went 5 steps back. That's called hypocritical.
But then,
that's not educated.
But then he was called out for 30 billion. I don't know what was that huge number of the money laundering and all this.
Like I said, his
scandal.
own bank. Not just his, banks around the world are banking very bad people that are doing very bad things. And you can't have a bank account through a subsidiary of a cousin or without knowing where that money's coming from. You know where the money's coming from. It could be a bad warlord, it could be a drug dealer, or it could just be made poorly in a bad way. But through a KYC process of a bank, even it's going to reroute through a cousin's, dog's, grandma's, whatever, you still know where it came from, right? In those amounts. Yet they're banking these people. What are you so mad about a $1 trillion or $2 trillion cap industry? It's not hurting you right now. You're afraid of it. You're afraid of its potential. You're afraid of what it can do with this new generation. Because if they stop doing CD accounts, certificate of deposit accounts like our parents did in America, locking their money up for 3, 4, 5 years at a time, making 3 to 5% nothing, DeFi is pretty scary. DeFi in the hundreds of percentages or even double-digit percentages is pretty amazing. And with a unbanked population of young kids that are always trading their money from NFTs to Robinhood stock, Robinhood game stock, all the way to Bitcoin, that's scary to them. They haven't participated in any of that.
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest, that makes the traditional institutions scared the most is that there are so many people that never bought a stock. They never did like a long-term financial commitment. They never bought this anything, and suddenly they were trading because crypto has so many, these first-time people who came and decided to trade to buy an asset. And even though we always talk about adoption, how there isn't adoption much happening, but also we have to admit there is such a huge adoption of people who never had an idea and they one day, came and start understanding how trade works, which I don't know, Forex struggled for many years because trading currencies isn't anything new, right? Forex was there. I remember I was small kid, like when Forex was a thing already.
Sure, yeah.
And I think that's what makes them scared because crypto as a overall industry isn't that huge. It's nothing like BlackRock has assets. They manage assets at least like 100 times more than entire crypto industry. They can it's like a 1% for them. It's nothing.
No, but that's why with the ETF, it's just a product. They don't see, their clients will never ask what the product is. I mean, of course they will ask, but the point is that the trillion-dollar investors, because there are trillion-dollar investors out there, they pick up the phone to BlackRock and they say, hey, what's good this month? And when the ETF goes live, the guy will say, hey, we have this new product. They don't explain. Say, oh, you have a new product. BlackRock has a new product. Great. Give me 100 million. No, you know what? Make it 2. Make it 3. That's not the point, right? Because the money value is and it's BlackRock saying it. So by doing that with the ETF, you're doing that thing that we said in the beginning where you're triple turnovering all the assets, but also you're gonna dilute the market. And I don't know if many new holders are gonna participate like they used to. We got down to, I think, what is a 0.01 Bitcoin is now a 1%er, right? It used to be a 1 Bitcoin, then it went to half a Bitcoin, and now it's so more people are participating at lesser amounts, but who's gonna be the larger holder? Who's going to be the big boy table holder? And does it really need to even be physical or, actual Bitcoin in a wallet to be the holder or to make the largest decision? What if a massive short comes in on the ETF? What if a war breaks out in America and China and a massive short position gets held on these ETFs and it goes from whatever $100 to $10 because these things happen in capitulation? What happens to the actual Bitcoin price? And those guys weren't even participating in the actual Bitcoin, right? So it's manipulation at its finest, and that's what's coming. So when we say institutions are coming, because our parents, the boomers, still own 85 to 90% of the cash in the world. And they're, God bless them, knock on wood, they're not going to pass for another 20, 30 years. So our generation specifically is not going to have any decision making for another 20 years, let alone the young people. But the young people, Gen Zs and under, they're going to stop using the bank. They're going to stop using, holding cash, or I'm sorry, credit, right? They're going to start holding cash for as long as they can, using crypto and moving it around. But to your point, beautiful thing happened in crypto and the kind of COVID bump of trading. We created, unbeknownst to us, a generation or a half generation of financially literate people. I can't stop you from investing in GameStop or AMC and doing a short squeeze that you were excited for on a Reddit forum from a bad name Reddit user who's a genius, by the way. I can't say his name on camera. That's beautiful because you actually created a generation, hopefully, of financially literate people. You only learn when you lose. If you constantly win, you're not going to actually learn what is money. You're just lucky. Right? You could do that in Vegas. But when you start losing, winning, you start to learn about these things. And I don't know if that's so true in like NFTs. Did anybody actually learn what tokenization was out of their monkeys, apes dropping from, 60K to 6K or going from 6K to 6 million? Did they learn anything? Did they take the time to learn about tokenomics, right? All these games and like Axie Infinity and everybody, it was a quick get rich quick scheme, right? Did they learn anything though? grandmas playing in Philippines, right? Trading axes and making SLP and paying their taxis with SLP coin. Like, did they learn anything from it? I don't think so.
They definitely didn't learn anything. And I think the biggest problem with this get rich quick schemas is that they don't teach you anything, right? Because you are there without understanding. I don't know, Ponzi schemas were there for years and years, and people still fall in that.
Yeah.
And it is always kind of a consolidation that we are like 100 participants, we put $100 and 3 wins becomes rich and others lose everything. It's not even like a fair trade. It is nothing. It shouldn't be the way market works. Even though like meme coins, as many crypto people say, and I love that analogy, it's like kind of a lottery ticket, like a on-chain lottery ticket. You buy, you might win, you might lose, but it shouldn't hurt because you already know that chances of you losing high, very high, right? It's kind of a understanding that, okay, what's gonna happen next. The same way you go to Vegas and you bet, you know that you are there, chances of losing is very high, and you do that conscious decision that, okay, I'm entertaining. And if we kind of a blueprint it to the crypto, it happens the same, that, you know, you are learning. It's a learning process. And I love when people have like a $50, I don't know, holiday money or birthday money, and they decide to open an account and go buy some meme coins, and every day, you know, check it 10 times to it's going up or not. I did like with my cousins, like they're teenagers, and you know, they're like a first year university, and I introduced them, I opened them a Bitget account, I put some, you know, transferred some money, and they're playing. Sometimes they call and complain that, oh, it's going to the red, and I'm like, okay guys, you have to be patient, and because I want them to then learn. But on the other end, if we just, you know, think again the case of, I don't know, when you have this super boring game, even the Axie Infinity is a fairly fun game. Like there are so many, you know, play to earn games that are very boring, and
Sure.
they think that people will come and play because of the money,
Right.
which is a very wrong narrative from the beginning. The same thing with the NFTs, right? It is an art. You have to admire, you have to have a passion for that. And if you just buy it for the sake of buying it, or there's this very famous friend of us in the crypto industry who bought a CryptoPunk, and then he realized that it's a female character, and he went bought another male character, and he couldn't even sell neither of them, and he lost a lot of money. But it was for a hype, just to tell that, oh, I am the one here. And sometimes I think the hype is driven by being the pioneer,
Right.
and without even believing, showing that you are the believer to that whatsoever technology. And you were the one of the like first believers, and I'm sure that you didn't only make money by mining, but you also sold the technology to the people.
Yeah.
And like, how did you like, why you believed in it?
I came from Wall Street, man. Like, Wall Street is the most centralized place in the world, right? It's, you always have a puppet master to answer to. I was a short trader on the commodities market trading oil. Oil was 132, 128 a barrel. We rode a trade down all the way to 36 bucks, right? How much did I make? I made a salary of 60K. I worked for a bank that no longer exists anymore, or it merged during the financial crisis. So I made 60 grand a year as a new grad, you know, entry level trader. How much did they make? And it was because of us young ones. We said keep the position open because we got to convince our managers, like, look at the technicals, look at the fundamentals, look at this. Like, we were the geniuses in the room. They were just saying, okay, fine, listen to these kids. What's our risk? You know, and we kept making more money, making more money, making more money, because the longer you hold a short, it's very risky. But
The bigger the gain.
Yeah. Okay, what did I make? What did I convert? What did I get to show for it? Can I write an article about it? No one gives a crap, right? Can I show my pay stub? No, because it's low. Can I get another job showing, hey, you know, Goldman Sachs or you know, BlackRock, look what I did? Maybe, if someone heard about it through the grapevine, right? So what good was it for me? But in Bitcoin and crypto specifically, it's all right there on chain. It's right there for you to show, wow, okay, you mined this much at this hash rate, you were in from this position, you sold and you converted to this. That's why I said the winners always converted back to Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin specifically, just this year, just in the last, since the low, is up 100, 180%, 160%, and no one's talking about it. No one wants to say, oh my gosh, look at this beautiful asset that is actually paying back, actually on chain, on paper, you know, metaphorically, is giving X back to us. No, we got to get that meme 1000x. No, we got to look at the dollar devaluation. Look at, Turkey and Venezuela. It's like, well, you got this right in front of your eyes. So that's what ended up making me change from a very centralized way of thinking to decentralize. And then I'll never go back. I don't care how much money I win or lose and make or invest in new startups. I never want to work for corporates ever again. I can't. If it's not in the crypto industry or, in blockchain specifically, we've built security systems for blockchain, KYC, remittance. We've done it all. And I'll work for those corporations. But if it's a traditional corp in the old mindset, get out of here. You're done for. You're just holding on with a very thin string, and that's the boomer string, right? So real estate is the next one to fall because it's a very broken system. Education on a non-technical way is a very broken system. These are going to change in our lifetimes, right? You're already seeing them kind of break down. So why would I stay and suffer? Now, do I still trade stocks? Absolutely, right? Do I love technical analysis? Absolutely. But you can transfer that straight into crypto and be just as successful, if not more.
In the beginning, you started the conversation that you met this beautiful man who helped you to kind of build your own money printing machine. Like, how come one sells the money printing machine? Like, why did you decide to exit the business?
Yeah, man, that hit me deep. And in hindsight, had we kept mining into at least 2018, obviously I might not be sitting here right now. But the beautiful thing was that I'm just an entrepreneur. I had to put that money to work. It got so boring. I came into my dad's office. We called it the Great Fire of 2014. I came into my dad's office where I actually took over his whole office, God bless him, and I put mining rigs in every office, as much as I could take out of the power outlet, because you can't plug in 100. We didn't change any conversion. I was just using what I had. I got an alert at 2 a.m. that rig 7 is down. I called John. I said, John, we got to go check out rig. This is all like automated, but you got to restart it. You got to go and touch the machine and restart it. This was like very early. This was our own stash. I get to the office and we had to keep the AC on so low that the condensation from the ceiling was dripping. And I see in the corner office at 2, 3 in the morning, there's a little fire. It looks like a fire. One of the GPUs just caught on fire, maybe seconds before we walked in. I was spitting on it and kicking it and doing whatever, and I kept that GPU still. I still have that GPU, and it has a tag. It says Great Fire of 2014. And that's not why I sold, but it was things like that was like, okay, this is still primitive. I can make this into, we were doing warehouses and automated and stuff like that, water cooling. I had a large mining facility in Georgia, even in 2017 as an investor, right across from Bitmain in Georgia, the country of Georgia. And so, but I saw an exit to be able to go and invest in different products. So we sold in 2015, late 2015. We took that money and we started investing in different products in blockchain. We built our first team, dev team. This was very early on dev team, and we were able to do some cool things. That's why I said I'm definitely not the wealthiest man or even close to it in crypto. But the experience, the things that we've touched and felt, from security to remittance to communication to KYC to AML, we've done it all. And so that's the ride for me. It's super cool. And I'm still doing that, right? I'm still investing in gaming and Web3 gaming. I'm trying to figure out how gaming can play a bigger part in this. And I think that's what's beautiful in my life personally. I'm a kind of cluster of everything, and I'm not one tracked, and maybe that's my detriment, but also the juice of my life. So I don't know if that was the right answer, but we had to get to the finish line, and that's where it started.
I don't think there's like a right answer and wrong answer,
Yeah.
but there's this cool saying. They say everyone will buy Bitcoin at the price they deserve. And
it's never a bad time to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And it's never a bad time to
there's this African proverb says it was a good time to plant a tree 10 years ago, and it is today a good time to plant a tree. And I think the same goes for Bitcoin. Like, if you could buy 10 years ago, it was a good time, and it's also now. And also it's very interesting, like, how easy at some point it was to mine a Bitcoin. I know people who were doing it through PlayStation, right?
Yeah, ASIC miners, man. ASIC miners, just these little USB sticks.
And today it is a whole different game, and you can't just go plug your computer to the network, do anything, even like you couldn't mine like a micro Satoshi or anything with that.
Speaking of Satoshi, I want to end on this. You said it, and Satoshi said in the white paper, right? Better you get a little bit of this stuff because you never know what's going to happen. Now, that's not the exact words, but he did say that. He said, I don't know what it may become, or we don't know what it may become, but better you participate than not participate. And so that for that, it's never a bad day to buy Bitcoin. It's never a bad day to begin your DCA strategy, dollar cost average, or whatever. The man who wrote the book, the man who built this is telling you better to have a little than nothing. And isn't that diversification at
It
any
is a
means?
beautiful diversification, beautiful hedging, but also I think Bitcoin is, because it was performing better than any asset in the last 10 years, it's a really value capture mechanism.
100%.
Thank you for coming to the Bitget
Thank you,
show.
brother.
And I was your host, Vugar Usi.